Welcome back to Learn English Through History. I hope you are doing well and are ready for another incredible journey into the pages of history. Today, we are going to explore the life of a man whose name has echoed through the centuries for more than 2,000 years. A man who achieved what many believed was impossible. A man who led armies across deserts, mountains, rivers, and continents. A man who built one of the largest empires the ancient world had ever seen. Have you ever wondered what it would be like to conquer half of the known world before the age of 30? Most people spend their youth learning about life, making plans for the future, and trying to discover who they are. But this young man was leading thousands of soldiers into battle. He was defeating powerful kings, conquering vast territories, and changing the course of history forever. Even more astonishing, he never lost a single battle. Some people see him as a hero and one of the greatest military leaders who ever lived. Others believe that his ambition was too great and that his desire for conquest brought suffering to many people. Yet, whether people admire him or criticize him, almost everyone agrees on one thing. He was extraordinary. His name was Alexander, and today the world remembers him as Alexander the Great. This is his story. A story of courage, a story of ambition, a story of leadership, a story of discovery, and a story of one man's dream to reach the ends of the earth. If you enjoy learning English through fascinating true stories from history, don't forget to subscribe to Learn English Through History. Your support helps us continue creating educational content that makes history easy, enjoyable, and inspiring. Now, sit back, relax, and let us travel back more than 2,000 years to discover the incredible life of Alexander the Great, a child destined for greatness. Alexander was born in 356 BC in the ancient kingdom of Macedonia. Today, this region is part of the Balkans, but during Alexander's time, Macedonia was becoming one of the most powerful kingdoms in the Greek world. His father was King Philip II, a brilliant ruler and military strategist. Philip transformed Macedonia from a relatively weak kingdom into a powerful military state feared by its neighbors. His mother was Queen Olympias, a strong and ambitious woman who had a deep influence on her son. From the moment Alexander was born, stories and legends surrounded him. Ancient writers claimed that strange signs appeared before his birth. Some people believed that he was destined to achieve great things. Whether those stories were true or not, one thing is certain. Alexander grew up believing he was meant for greatness. His mother often told him stories about legendary heroes from Greek mythology. Among these heroes, Alexander admired Achilles more than anyone else. Achilles was the great warrior of the Trojan War, famous for his courage, strength, and skill in battle. Olympias told her son that their family descended from Achilles himself. Alexander believed these stories completely. As he listened to tales of heroes and warriors, he dreamed of one day achieving glory greater than any man before him. Unlike many royal children, Alexander's life was not filled only with luxury and comfort. His father wanted him to become strong, disciplined, and capable of leadership. He learned hunting, horseback riding, combat skills, and military tactics from an early age. Every day presented new challenges. Every day prepared him for the future. Even as a child, Alexander showed intelligence, determination, and confidence far beyond his years. The horse no one could ride. One of the most famous stories from Alexander's childhood involves a magnificent horse named Bucephalus. One day, a horse trader brought an enormous black horse to King Philip. The animal was powerful, beautiful, and expensive. However, there was a problem. Nobody could ride it. The horse kicked, jumped, and resisted every attempt to control it. Experienced riders tried and failed. Soldiers tried and failed. The king became frustrated and ordered the horse to be taken away. But young Alexander, who was only around 12 years old, carefully watched the animal. Unlike everyone else, he noticed something important. The horse was frightened by its own shadow. Every time it saw the dark shape moving beside it, it became nervous and uncontrollable. Alexander approached his father. He boldly claimed that he could ride the horse. The adults laughed. How could a child succeed where trained riders had failed? King Philip agreed to let him try. Alexander slowly approached Bucephalus. He turned the horse toward the sun so that its shadow disappeared behind it. The animal immediately became calmer. Alexander spoke softly, climbed onto its back, and began riding. Within moments, horse and rider were galloping across the field. The crowd watched in amazement. Nobody could believe what they were seeing. When Alexander returned, King Philip embraced him proudly and reportedly said, "My son, seek a kingdom equal to yourself. Macedonia is too small for you." The horse Bucephalus became Alexander's loyal companion for many years. Together they would travel thousands of miles across Asia and share countless adventures. Learning from Aristotle. As Alexander grew older, his father wanted him to receive the best education possible. Therefore, he hired one of the greatest thinkers in human history. His name was Aristotle. Aristotle was already famous throughout the Greek world for his wisdom and knowledge. For several years, he personally educated Alexander and a group of noble Macedonian boys. Under Aristotle's guidance, Alexander studied philosophy, science, medicine, literature, politics, mathematics, geography, and history. He learned how different governments worked. He learned about animals and plants. He learned about ethics and morality. Most importantly, he learned how to think critically and ask questions about the world around him. Alexander loved learning. He was curious about everything. Unlike many warriors, he did not see knowledge and military strength as opposites. He believed both were essential. Even during military campaigns years later, Alexander carried books with him. His favorite book was Homer's Iliad, the epic story of the Trojan War. He reportedly kept a copy beside his bed wherever he traveled. The lessons Aristotle taught him would influence his actions throughout his life. Alexander would become not only a conqueror, but also an explorer, student, and admirer of different cultures. When Alexander was 16 years old, his father left Macedonia to conduct military operations elsewhere. During his absence, Philip appointed Alexander as regent, effectively placing him in charge of the kingdom. This was an enormous responsibility for someone so young. Many people doubted whether he could handle it. Soon, a neighboring tribe rebelled against Macedonian authority. The rebels believed the kingdom would be weak without King Philip. They expected little resistance. They underestimated Alexander. The young prince quickly organized an army and marched against the rebels. He defeated them decisively and restored order. This victory demonstrated something important. Alexander was not merely intelligent and educated, he was also a capable military leader. His soldiers respected him. His enemies feared him. His father recognized that his son possessed extraordinary talent. The future king was proving himself earlier than anyone expected. 2 years later, Alexander participated in one of the most important battles of ancient Greek history. This battle was known as the Battle of Chaeronea. King Philip sought to unite Greece under Macedonian leadership. Several powerful Greek city-states opposed him. A massive conflict became unavoidable. Alexander, now 18 years old, commanded part of the Macedonian cavalry. During the battle, he displayed remarkable bravery and leadership. Leading a charge against elite enemy forces, he helped break their lines and secure victory. The battle ended organized resistance against Macedonia. Philip emerged as the dominant ruler of Greece. Alexander's reputation grew enormously. People throughout the Greek world began hearing stories about the courageous young prince who fought beside his father. Many believed a brilliant future awaited him. None imagined how extraordinary that future would become. The victory at Chaeronea made Alexander famous throughout Greece. People admired his courage. Soldiers respected his leadership. His father, King Philip II, had every reason to be proud. The kingdom of Macedonia was stronger than ever before. Most of Greece now accepted Philip as its leader. Everything seemed perfect. But history often changes when people least expect it. And soon, a shocking event would transform Alexander's life forever. The assassination of King Philip. In 336 BC, King Philip organized a grand celebration. Nobles, generals, ambassadors, and important guests arrived from across Greece. The occasion was filled with music, feasts, and ceremonies. No one expected tragedy. As Philip entered the theater surrounded by cheering crowds, a man suddenly rushed forward. Before anyone could stop him, he stabbed the king. Philip collapsed to the ground. Within moments, the ruler of Macedonia was dead. Panic spread through the crowd. People screamed. Guards chased the assassin and killed him shortly afterward. The murder shocked the entire Greek world. Many questions immediately arose. Why had Philip been killed? Who was responsible? Was it a personal revenge, a political conspiracy, or something even larger? Historians still debate these questions today, but regardless of the reason, one fact was clear. The king was dead, and 20-year-old Alexander suddenly found himself standing at the center of a dangerous political storm. Becoming king at 20. Although Alexander was the rightful heir, becoming king would not be easy. Some Macedonian nobles questioned whether someone so young could rule. Others hoped to seize power for themselves. Several neighboring tribes saw an opportunity to rebel. Even some Greek cities believed Macedonia would become weak without Philip. They expected the kingdom to collapse. Alexander understood the danger immediately. If he showed weakness, he would lose everything. Therefore, he acted quickly and decisively. First, he secured the loyalty of the Macedonian army. Fortunately, many soldiers already admired him because of his bravery and leadership. The army proclaimed him king. Next, Alexander eliminated rivals who threatened his position. Ancient politics could be ruthless. Kings who failed to secure their power often lost both their throne and their lives. Alexander understood this reality. Within a short time, he removed potential threats and established control over Macedonia. But challenges still remained. Several Greek cities rebelled against Macedonian authority. They believed the young king lacked the strength and experience of his father. Alexander intended to prove them wrong. The destruction of Thebes. One of the most important cities to rebel was Thebes. The people of Thebes believed they could regain their independence. They underestimated Alexander. The young king gathered his army and marched south with remarkable speed. His arrival shocked everyone. Many Greeks had assumed he was still far away. Instead, he appeared outside Thebes before the city could properly prepare. Alexander offered the rebels a chance to surrender peacefully. They refused. A fierce battle followed. Macedonian forces stormed the city. The defenders fought bravely but could not stop Alexander's experienced army. Thebes was captured and largely destroyed. Thousands were killed. Many survivors were sold into slavery. Only temples and a few important buildings remained standing. The punishment was severe. Alexander wanted to send a message to all of Greece. The message was simple: do not challenge Macedonia. The effect was immediate. Cities throughout Greece abandoned thoughts of rebellion. Alexander's authority was accepted everywhere. At only 20 years old, he had secured his kingdom. Now he could focus on a dream that had fascinated him since childhood: the conquest of Persia. The greatest empire in the world. At that time, the Persian Empire was the largest and wealthiest empire on earth. It stretched from Egypt in the west to India in the east. Millions of people lived under Persian rule. Its cities were rich. Its armies were enormous. Its resources seemed endless. The ruler of this vast empire was King Darius III. Compared to Persia, Macedonia appeared small. Many people believed attacking Persia would be madness, but Alexander believed otherwise. For generations, Greeks remembered earlier Persian invasions of their homeland. Alexander presented his campaign as a mission of revenge and liberation. However, he also possessed another motivation: ambition. He dreamed of glory. He dreamed of surpassing every hero in history. He dreamed of conquering lands no Greek had ever ruled. And so, in the spring of 334 BC, Alexander began one of history's greatest military campaigns. Crossing into Asia. Alexander gathered approximately 40,000 soldiers. His army included infantry, cavalry, ingenia.
Many of these men had served under King Philip. They were experienced professionals. They trusted their young king completely. The army crossed the Hellespont, the narrow waterway separating Europe from Asia. For Alexander, this moment carried symbolic meaning. He was entering a new world, a world filled with opportunity, danger, and destiny. Ancient stories say that upon reaching Asia, Alexander threw a spear into the ground. By doing so, he symbolically claimed the continent as territory won by conquest. Whether the story is true or not, it reflects his confidence. He believed he was destined for greatness. The campaign had begun. There would be no turning back. The Battle of the Granicus River. The Persians quickly organized a response. Their commanders assembled an army near the Granicus River in modern-day Turkey. The river formed a natural defensive barrier. Its banks were steep, its currents were strong. Crossing under enemy attack would be extremely dangerous. Several of Alexander's generals advised caution. They recommended waiting. They suggested crossing later under better conditions. Alexander disagreed. He understood that hesitation could damage morale and allow Persian forces to strengthen their position. Instead, he ordered an immediate attack. Mounted on his beloved horse Bucephalus, Alexander led the assault personally. The Macedonian cavalry entered the river. Arrows and weapons rained down upon them. The fighting became chaotic. Water splashed everywhere. Men and horses struggled against the current. At one point, Alexander found himself surrounded by Persian warriors. A Persian noble struck him with an axe. His helmet absorbed much of the blow. Even so, Alexander came dangerously close to death. Just before another enemy could kill him, one of his companions, Clytus the Black, intervened and saved his life. The battle continued. Slowly but surely, Macedonian discipline and determination prevailed. The Persian forces collapsed. Many fled the battlefield. Others were killed or captured. Alexander had won his first major battle in Asia. The road into the Persian Empire was now open. Winning hearts and cities. After Granicus, many cities surrendered without resistance. Some welcomed Alexander as a liberator. Others hoped peaceful submission would spare them destruction. Alexander understood that conquest involved more than military victories. He needed local support. Therefore, he often treated conquered populations respectfully. He restored certain freedoms. He respected local customs. He replaced Persian officials with leaders loyal to him. By combining force with diplomacy, he strengthened his control over newly conquered territories. At the same time, he captured important coastal cities. This strategy weakened the Persian navy. Without secure ports, Persian ships could no longer operate effectively. Every victory increased Alexander's reputation. Every success attracted new allies. Every conquered city brought him closer to the heart of Persia. The Gordian Knot. During his march through Asia Minor, Alexander arrived at the city of Gordium. There he encountered one of the most famous legends of the ancient world. Inside a temple stood an ancient wagon tied with an incredibly complex knot. According to prophecy, whoever untied the knot would become ruler of all Asia. Many people had attempted the challenge. None succeeded. Alexander examined the knot carefully. For a moment, observers wondered what he would do. Then he made a decision. Drawing his sword, he sliced the knot apart with a single stroke. Some versions of the story say he loosened a hidden pin instead. Whatever actually happened, the legend became famous. Alexander had solved an impossible problem through decisive action. The story perfectly matched his personality. He refused to accept limitations. When traditional methods failed, he created new solutions. The Gordian knot remains a symbol even today for solving difficult problems in bold and unconventional ways. Darius strikes back. King Darius III could no longer ignore the growing threat. The young Macedonian king had already conquered large portions of Western Asia. Persian authority was weakening. Something had to be done. Darius gathered a massive army. Troops arrived from every corner of the empire. Persian cavalry, infantry, archers, and mercenaries assembled under the royal banner. The king himself took command. This would be the first direct confrontation between Alexander and Darius. The meeting would change history. The Battle of Issus. In 333 BC, the two armies finally met near the town of Issus. Darius possessed a larger army. Many believed numerical superiority would guarantee victory. However, numbers alone do not determine battles. Leadership matters, discipline matters, strategy matters. Alexander understood this better than anyone. The battlefield near Issus was relatively narrow. Mountains and coastline restricted movement. This prevented Darius from fully utilizing his larger force. Alexander recognized the opportunity immediately. He launched a coordinated attack. The Macedonian phalanx advanced steadily. Meanwhile, Alexander led his cavalry toward a critical section of the Persian line. The attack created confusion. Persian formations began breaking apart. Then Alexander did something characteristic. Rather than attacking ordinary soldiers, he aimed directly for the Persian king. Leading his cavalry at full speed, he charged toward Darius himself. As the Macedonians approached, panic spread through the Persian ranks. Darius watched the enemy commander racing toward him. Finally, fear overcame him. The king turned his chariot and fled. The sight shocked the Persian army. When soldiers saw their ruler escaping, morale collapsed. Many abandoned the battlefield. Others were cut down during the retreat. The Macedonians achieved a stunning victory. The mighty Persian Empire had suffered a humiliating defeat, and Alexander's legend continued to grow.